Usually I ask you a question to say, what is the, I got Sarah. Sarah's kind of sitting down going, okay, I don't have to work today, but what's going to happen next?
Just ready for this.
So typically I ask you to do your research and to go to Oxford, to New World, or Webster's, find the definition of X and so we can discuss that. Today, we've got a little bit of a reverse question I want to start with. And depending on how the discussion goes, I'll give you the rationale as to why we're discussing. But here's what I'd like you to do. I would like for you to comb the recesses of your memories, your feelings, your sentiments. And I'd like for you to give me your perception, not the definition, your personal perception of two words. Here's the first one. Enjoyable. Second word is fun. So I'd like you to give me your perception of the word enjoyable and then your perception of the word fun. Ready when you are.
Well, they're not synonymous for sure.
They're not.
No.
Okay?
Because enjoyable can sometimes be okay. I don't mind doing it, right? Find some joy in it. I mean, sometimes family gatherings. You sometimes find some joy in it. Just be fun, right? And sometimes you can gather in events that aren't fun, but they're enjoyable because you're around people that you like.
Okay.
And then fun is more things that I like to do because I have fun doing them. You know, like somebody may find running roller coasters fun.
Yep.
I used to.
Yep. I did.
Not anymore.
Well, because now you get on the ride and you go, when was the last time this was inspected? How many people died on this?
Is my life insurance all paid up?
Correct. There's things you think about now on roller coasters that when we like them, absolutely.
Yes.
We didn't think about that when we were loving them.
Because fun, I think the idea of fun might change as you get older.
Okay. So you're saying that fun is relative.
Yeah.
And it may change.
Yeah, because what you found fun when you were 12 may not be the same when you're 50.
Okay. All right.
May not be the same.
In some cases, it may be.
Yes, sir. Man with the red beard.
I know you don't want etymology, but just the shortest amount of it possible.
Yeah.
Enjoyable makes me think.
Yes.
Enjoy brings joy into me.
Yes.
A bowl just kind of gives you that implication of this is something that pertains to that. So
Yes.
that gives me the idea of enjoyable is something that delivers it to me. It's
Yes.
more passive, where fun is something that's a little bit more participatory. I have to do something. I have to find it fun. I have to be weird in that way in order to, get the fun in it and out of it. Where enjoyable kind of has a little bit more of a broad, agreeable connotation to it.
Okay. So I'm not opposed to what you just did because that really is kind of the definition of at least one of those words. In fact, that word has joy right in the middle of it. And on paper, isn't joy better than fun? Thank you, Diane. Joy on paper, joy is better than fun, right? That's what Trent kind of just said. But I didn't ask you the definition. I asked you your perception. Your perception.
Joy is fun that's maybe similar to what he was putting as a definition.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to music.
Yeah.
And all. I have fun doing karaoke.
Okay.
Plus, I enjoy it. So that's a more participatory activity that I feel is fun.
Okay.
But I love and enjoy music all around. But it's not necessarily fun to sit and listen to music.
So did you hear what Sharon kind of said is, and hopefully if I get this wrong, correct me. sometimes enjoyment, when things are enjoyable, that stands alone. But when you have fun and enjoyable sometimes are companions. That's what I thought I heard you say. Okay.
I don't think I would have fun doing it if I didn't enjoy the whole process of
Okay.
it.
Oh, young lady?
So joy for me is a state of mind almost that you have to be in, because sometimes you find, like, I am weird. When I'm cleaning for my sister, it's enjoyable for me because I'm thinking about why I'm doing it. So it's almost like you have to be purposeful to be enjoyed, to have that joy, enjoyableness in your life.
Okay.
Where fun is you're doing this and it's usually outside of what you always do, and it's something you really want to do. It's something that you find fun.
Kind of selfish.
Fun?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you mean by that, brother Jerry?
It's what you want to do.
Yep.
And you're going to do it no matter what anybody else says.
Okay.
That's hard.
Well, there's that element because that's why there's robbery. So
There are consequences of any fun. Yes.
what I'm referring to is not the fun you want to do in spite of what the law says. Talk about a different kind of thing here, folks. Think less of the kind of thing that Jerry just took us down by. Like,
Let me give you a for instance. She said, as we get older, some things may not be as fun anymore.
Right.
That was a thing I did as a teenager that I loved, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't very smart, but it was fun to me. I loved to put a pair of skates on and do speed skating as fast as I could with other guys and beat them.
Yep.
And it was fun, even when the skates went out from under you to the curb and you went 40 miles an hour into either a brick wall or a wooden wall, whatever was in that skating rink. I have no
desire.
desire whatsoever to take one of those turns, break back on skates again, because I know what would happen. And I can skate, but I don't speed skate.
So, but the memory is still fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Other folks? So let me give you some events and you weigh in on enjoyable or fun. Okay? Oh, wait a minute.
Depends.
Depends, because if you're, okay. Stop. If you're going to a wedding that's like, I apologize to anybody else here, but a Catholic wedding,
Okay.
oh my goodness.
Okay.
Right? Because you're up and down, and just like, it's sorry. I'm sorry. Those aren't necessarily my kind of weddings that I like to go to. I'll go to them, but I don't necessarily find them fun or enjoyable.
Okay.
Other than the fact that I'm celebrating somebody getting married, and that's about it.
So you're celebrating somebody getting married. So is it enjoyable or is it fun?
It's all about
And
all
that
about-
may be true.
Okay, so the reception can make up for the ceremony part.
Could.
Enjoyable or fun?
Nah.
Depends on who's there.
Say again?
Depends on who's there.
Okay, sometimes depends on who's there. If a wedding is enjoyable, what's that look like to you? It's enjoyable.
You like the two getting married.
Right.
Work. That's important.
Spoken like a mom. Okay. If you like the two getting married, if they work together, yeah, what else?
What makes it enjoyable?
What makes it enjoyable for you?
Hopefully it's people you like to hang out with.
Okay. But sometimes a wedding is not. And you get seated with people you don't know.
Like,
Or like.
where you have fights that break out.
Okay.
Seen that.
Diane saying sometimes you have fisticuffs at the weddings. That okay?
That was talking fun.
And Steve says that's now a fun wedding. Steve's obviously the guy that in high school when the two guys were fighting, he would go fight, 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 fight. Which
Start selling tickets.
which in a weird way makes the fight kind of fun, doesn't it?
Food is good.
The food
Your steak's good.
was dancing.
There may be alcohol.
There may be alcohol. You didn't put out too much for the gift,
There you go.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference in that being a fun wedding?
Well, again, the reception part is probably the fun part.
Part's very key. Okay.
Because, I mean, there could be dance on the tables, there could be all kinds of stuff going on at the reception.
Yeah.
So the reception, to me, for a wedding is probably more fun than the wedding itself, because the wedding, sometimes you're kind of, you're formal, more so formal, and you're
not a participant.
correct, you're not a participant, whereas in the reception, you tend to be more of a participant, especially if there's dancing.
Okay.
On the table seat.
Okay. On the next.
So what kind of weddings you're going to?
It was very subdued afterward.
So Steve and Sarah have said that they're both attending weddings that the other one's not going to.
Like weddings you see like the movies. Okay, or yes, the Greek wedding. Yeah, the Greek wedding, or sometimes even America's Funniest Home Videos. You know, so. But I think the reception is more fun. It's also enjoyable, but it's more fun than the wedding, because I like the way that Diane posed it, is that you're not participating unless you're the ones getting married.
Yeah.
But you're not participating typically in a wedding you're going to.
Okay. So would you rather attend a wedding that's enjoyable or fun?
Yeah.
So,
Maybe.
man,
See, Diane says it's invite me.
it's fun. It's going to be enjoyable.
So would you,
They're kind of, fun, kind of. Yeah.
If you got fun, you get enjoyable.
okay, but
So
Sherry said enjoyable isn't always followed by fun, but fun always has enjoyable, is what Sherry said.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
You're fun. You've got enjoyable.
So-
If you're enjoyable, you might not have
so which would you rather go to, an enjoyable wedding or a fun wedding?
fun wedding.
Okay, I'm using you guys as your springboard. Diane's still thinking about it. All right, we'll move on. Here's working out at the gym. Is it enjoyable or is it fun?
It's both.
Your perception. Is it enjoyable or is it fun? And it's neat to watch the face. Thank you, Trent. It's neat to watch the faces on these questions. By the way, we're gonna have this dovetail in a couple moments here, but we need to talk through this first. So Sarah, as a gym rat, says it's both. Why?
It's both because it's enjoyable, because it's something that I like to do.
Mhm.
You know, I like to go to the gym. I like to go lift the weights or do the cardio or do whatever. But I find it fun because I'm hanging out with people that I know and that we're just having a good time at the gym.
Okay.
So it's both to me.
Okay.
Now, if I was working out on the floor with lifting the weights all the time out that way,
Yeah.
it might not be as enjoyable or fun. But because of the classes,
Yeah.
it's more enjoyable and fun for me.
Okay.
So I might be the weird one.
And Trent has a wife who's kind of got kids in the gym, if not at the pool. And the funny thing is, when I posed this question, Trent's head, you didn't see this probably, was going like this. Go to the gym. Enjoyable or fun? Sure.
Get to the gym.
Okay.
My gym is at home.
Yeah.
Which doesn't get used nearly as much as it used to. So I find it not always enjoyable
Okay.
and definitely not fun.
Okay.
Because it's just me and what I have to use and pushing myself to make myself.
Yeah.
So, but yet when I can get in a groove
Yeah.
with it and get doing it more often, it does become enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because of the endorphins that just exercise itself
Okay.
releases, but it's still, I don't put it on my fun.
Yeah. For me, the gym always had a purpose.
Yep.
As an athlete,
Yep.
you did there. What you did there wasn't necessarily fun or enjoyable. You did it to get to the fun, enjoyable part of playing the game,
Yep.
to be better at that. And now, without those games, I have no desire to be in the gym.
Okay. So for you, going to the gym, working out is not enjoyable or fun.
No.
Good. Other thoughts? Yes, sir.
I like working out. I like getting exercise, and I like doing that stuff. I dislike an audience.
Okay.
I really dislike unsolicited coaching,
Yep.
especially from somebody that I wouldn't go for advice on the difference between a quarter and a nickel.
Enjoyable or fun?
For me, the gym setting is neither. But a home gym, if I can, like you said, if I can get going on it, get a regular routine, enjoy the home gym. I wouldn't call it fun because it's, it's almost a welcome duty that I impose on myself. Like I know I
Yep.
need to do this.
Yep.
Where I get it fun involved is, we've got all these trails through the woods, on the island we live on, 50
Yeah.
miles worth of trails. I don't know how they fit it in, but it's awesome. Hills and lakes and all this stuff. I'll throw a weight in the backpack, 25, 30 pounds or something, just to make it work a little harder, get a little cardio going.
Yeah.
And if I've got the time in my day, I'll disappear for 3 hours.
Fun or
Yeah.
enjoyable?
Both, because I get the workout like you wouldn't believe, and there's some research that backs it up in a lot of ways. It's better than running. It's equivalent to lifting weights in some ways. So you get all the benefit, but also you're breathing fresh air. You're outside. You got changing scenery, and there's nobody else out there. So I can listen to whatever I want. If I want a podcast or I want music or whatever, but I could also take the kids along. I could take the whole family. I could, call somebody and say, hey, you want to meet up and go do this? It's eminently adaptable, but it's suitable to whatever mood I've got and whatever schedule I've got.
Okay. So I think that piggybacks right into, and let's kind of make them similar. Bruce, you're a runner. So running, enjoyable or fun?
It depends on the day, my health, the wind, the rain. But the thought to me is I like to do it, but I actually enjoy the after effect more than the doing. I feel good after I'm done.
Okay.
So I guess, in the whole scheme of things, from the time I leave home to the time I get back, it's enjoyable. It's very seldom fun.
Okay. School, enjoyable or fun?
Both.
You're the wrong answer.
I know I am.
You're the
That's
wrong
why
answer.
I know I am, but I love the school.
Look,
I had such a blast at school. I loved the classes. I enjoyed the teachers.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the stuff.
okay, we can't look. We are not. You and I are not answering that question. Okay, so yeah, regular people.
I was the one who played school with my stuffed animals at home.
Okay, now that's a little bit. That's committable.
I did when I was younger, yeah. I was on the play school.
That was last night.
It sounds like you were playing with them last night. Okay, because
I put together an activist and everything.
yeah.
It's weird. Okay, I am weird.
Okay. People who aren't Sarah, school, enjoyable or fun?
Depends.
Steve says depends.
Depends on the class.
Depends on the class.
I'm not even thinking about it.
Okay.
I didn't have much fun or enjoyment in high school because I was a geek or the out crowd.
Okay.
Sure.
So not enjoyable, not fun. Okay.
Not math.
I had, yeah, exactly. I had a class, not either, but I had a class in college that was like forgeries and history. And you get to forge your own stuff. My class was both enjoyable and fun.
Correct. And the criminal element that Jerry earlier said is good to go.
It really depended on the class.
Okay.
Not a whole lot.
Very few classes. What was, it was what was in between the classes.
Oh, hanging out with your friends.
Let's like the last.
Smoking,
Yeah.
right? Whatever happened between classes.
Mhm.
Okay. Work, your employment. Enjoyable or fun?
Enjoyable.
Sarah says enjoyable. Funny thing, knowing her, I absolutely agree that she finds her work enjoyable. Your work, employment, enjoyable or fun? Not of the above. Okay?
Never fun, but I get pleasure in what I do,
You enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
for the most part.
But it's not fun.
No, especially the last 2 years.
Okay.
Sometimes they can be fun, because we would have ball fights literally in the middle of the office area.
Okay.
We would throw cruise balls at each other.
Yeah.
So you'd have a battle.
Yeah.
And going to no man's land, you took your own life in your own hands.
Okay.
So you can have fun, right?
Yeah.
But typically work is not necessarily during your work hours
Yeah.
synonymous with fun.
Yeah.
But you want to enjoy your work so you don't dread getting up every morning and going to the office
Okay.
or wherever you're working.
Yeah. Mr. Pet Insurance.
Don't ask
It's
them.
not fun.
Okay.
It's occasionally enjoyable, but only on occasion.
Okay.
I've gotten to the point that it's enjoyable. Well, but I'll, without getting too morose, it's a matter of, stripping away a lot of my ideas of this would be better or that would be better. Like, you know what? And in case you hadn't heard about it, I work on the Navy base here, working with the jet simulators. So it's like playing video games all day, or at least it's like watching somebody else play video games all day. Really, really sophisticated video games, and sometimes I get to use the computer to shoot at them. It's pretty cool. So sometimes it veers into the realm of fun, and sometimes it's
Gremlins.
yeah. Sometimes it's just, man, this beat's working in the mines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not fun. It's enjoyable. And it's enjoyable when you sort of contrast, like, I could be doing this for work, I'm doing this.
I don't get paid to throw koosh balls at each other, though.
Neither does Sarah.
I don't either. But we used to do it because we had the big bullpen. We don't have them anymore, so we can't quite do it. But it's a lot of fun because all of a sudden you be sitting there working, get beamed off the head with a ball. You're like, okay, it's on.
Like playing Call of Duty at work. If you guys engage in that sort of stuff. Your birthday / your birthday celebration. Enjoyable or fun?
It's like how old you are.
Yes, it depends on how old you are.
We got over it a few years ago.
You're little, right? When your kids are little.
You get 14 every year.
Right, you have some, you get a big party, you may go take them to bouncy place
Yeah.
or any kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But as you get a little bit older, you don't necessarily do all that, but
Okay.
it's still enjoyable because you may go out to dinner.
Okay.
Okay. You may, I don't know, take a trip somewhere,
Okay.
depending on what's going on.
Yep.
But I think it becomes more enjoyable later because it's more how you want to celebrate it
Okay.
as opposed to how your
Yeah.
parents wanted to celebrate it when you were little.
So
And I think of my kids when they were little, what we did.
So then if you're doing more of what you want, is that more enjoyable or more fun?
Should be.
Well, it's kind of can be both because sometimes being enjoyable may just be going out to dinner.
Okay.
Okay. You're not going to have fun going out to dinner, but you're going to enjoy it. But you may take a trip and may get to go take a cruise to Alaska. And that could be enjoyable and fun. So I think it just depends on how you're celebrating your birthday and then how old you are.
So the components of perhaps what you do, the event, can sometimes move enjoyable to the fun on your barometer or on your thermometer. Okay? Yeah?
Well, my son's last couple of birthdays, I've gotten dressed up in an inflatable dinosaur costume. Got beat up by a bunch of 6-year-olds with pool noodles. I'd say it's in the realm of fun, though not necessarily enjoyable. But for mine, we usually just go camping out in the woods. It's pretty low key, but
Yeah.
it's what I would do on any given weekend or any given weekday. But having the excuse of, well, it's my birthday, so please, let me have this. Kind of helps make it happen. So therefore, you pack in the enjoyable and the fun as much as you can.
Okay. I'm sure, and I'm just throwing this out as an aside. There are a lot of us in this room that for any celebration, but especially a birthday, a piñata was kind of that was the juice. If you had a piñata at your party, you all didn't care about the cake and all this stuff because there was stuff that would come out of the pinata
That you got to beat.
that you got to hit. And then there was going to be a free for all for the stuff in the pinata. And I remember when our kids were little, oh my gosh, my wife could make pinatas that were made of steel.
I thought we didn't want to kids' birthdays. Okay.
But she put the heart in there, and she would make them. And the poor kids, they would have like 3 chances, and nothing would happen. I have an adult with a wooden bat and take out the pinata. Now, as the adult in that situation, I was still pretty juiced for the pinata blowing up because there's stuff that comes out of that. It's pretty hilarious. And I would have to fight myself when our kids were really little to not go and fight the kids for the stuff that came out of the pinata. Even though I might be able to buy it myself, it's more fun. So more fun out of a pinata. Pinatas were created with fun in mind. I'm sorry. I went a little off the rails there. I very much appreciate you dressing up as perhaps a big purple dinosaur and letting 6-year-olds get to beat you while singing a song that we all find offensive. Attending a seminar, enjoyable or fun?
Yeah.
Ellen kind of says, yeah. Depends.
Because if it's something that you want to do, I mean, it depends on what it is, because sometimes you have to go to a stupid seminar because work makes you.
You just said stupid seminar.
Because sometimes those are stupid seminars, right? Then other times, especially if you had to pick your own, like a training class, right, that you wanted to do, that could be both enjoyable and fun.
Yep.
Otherwise, sometimes it's more just a kill me now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm the same way with those. There's certain things I have to do that don't need this. Got better things to do. Already knew this. And then there's others where if I get to pick it, it's what is the content, who are the presenters, location.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's enjoyable and fun.
Okay.
Well, sometimes I have to take these classes, continuing education,
Oh yeah.
to maintain my adjuster fees. And because I do pet insurance, I usually find myself sitting there looking at a seminar on determining electrical damage on wind turbines or something. So
You usually multitask.
yeah, I'm usually that's over in the corner. I'm working. They can't see me. So yeah, but if it's a seminar that I might find interesting, it would probably be enjoyable and about fun. But more often than not, it's neither.
So we did the whole ropes course over at King's Dominion as part of a training, as a seminar, kind of a team building thing. So you had your seminar first, then you got to go out on the course.
Yeah.
It was absolutely terrifying, but it was also fun.
Okay.
So those are the types of things that it can be both.
Okay. So there was some trepidation, some apprehension, and there was an obstacle in some ways presented that looked like it was going to be daunting, but then either going through it or afterwards, when you reflect back, it was both enjoyable and fun. And by the way, since we're at this point, are you all in a similar boat that enjoyable and fun, although they might share the same suitcase, are distinctive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vacation, enjoyable or fun?
Both. Depends.
Thank you, Diane. Diane says it depends. What do you mean by that?
Well, we have a lot of family vacations.
Oh.
So it's a lot of work.
Mhm.
So, lots of it's fun and some of it's a real
Yeah. Family dynamics.
Yep.
Scheduling what? Making sure that the check sometimes is a big, huge headache that makes gathering family vacations a big headache. Who's going to pay for what? You almost have to set that stuff up in advance so it's not awkward. Making sure that you have activities that mostly everybody likes. Sports.
Depends on the sport.
Depends on the sport.
I can't watch golf. I'll be asleep.
Okay.
But I'll watch football.
Okay.
Basketball maybe.
All right. I'm going to stick with football. I can watch golf. I know, that's, yeah, I'm sorry I said that. I'd like to rewind that I said that. But let me change it. When you have exciting player, exciting and golf doesn't go.
Understand,
Nope.
that doesn't go together.
Yeah, my apologies.
When you got somebody out there
Yeah, Terry.
on the verge of breaking 60,
Yeah.
just lighting it up.
Yeah.
That's as good as playing it.
No,
You have a
see,
300-pound man running the course and tackle.
that would be fun.
Watch full contact now.
Now
Yes.
that I would watch.
Otherwise, I do not care.
Yeah.
Oh, you enjoyed the little fudges.
I mean, I'll sit down and I'm in the room with him when he watches a lot of it. I'm
Yeah.
not generally paying attention because sometimes something will catch my eye and I don't ask questions, which she tells me to shut up. But it's nothing that I choose. I would not go in a room and click on sports for myself with the button there. I just know.
I tried when we were first married. I tried to get her to go play golf with me.
Yeah.
And just we, I took her out to the range a couple times. No, it was in Danville too. And we went to the range, had some balls, and I'm going, this ain't gonna happen. And then I got to thinking about it. Wait a minute. If she goes and plays golf with me, that's 2 rounds I'm paying for at once. That's 1 less round I get to play. It's not golf.
She's a golfer. Wait, Bruce and Jerry don't do it.
It's fun. Kids and all, it's fun.
Listen, Nate goes at you at the golf club.
I watched Delaney because she be back.
That's like Nate. That's Nate.
I was sure it makes it punches.
For me,
I'm gonna notice his sneakers are pink. Wow, that's an interesting uniform. I like his haircut. And all the stuff that has nothing to do with the
That's a game.
sport. I take great naps.
Must be the weird ones. You're like, kind of like the sports.
So when we were younger, we used to play tennis all the time. We used to play badminton. We used to play.
I had a softball pretty good. Didn't catch well.
And you used to golf. Yes. Reading. Oh,
Depends on what it means.
depends on what it is.
Because sometimes reading kind of sucks, especially if you're reading like a manual.
Game of Thrones.
Good. I love it. I liked it. I haven't finished reading the book series yet, but I'm in the middle of it. But I like it.
Sword and Sorcery.
Yes. Yes. I'm good with that. Enjoyable, fun. Yes.
Okay.
Depends on why you reading something that someone else says you need to read this
Yes.
for X, Y, and Z. And unless it really was a great thing, then no. But for me, reading is very enjoyable, and I would even consider it, even though it's not an action, usually it's fun because I like to. I guess I'm following through with characters,
Okay.
so you kind of immerse yourself into what's going on, and that becomes fun through, the actions taking place usually.
Plus, you can visit places that you probably would never get to go see.
So if somebody else tells you to read it for a thing, not really enjoyable or fun.
Depends on what it is.
Depends on what it is.
To read something,
Okay. Yes.
study.
Yep.
Study. And
Okay.
yeah, that's where I study. But
Okay.
if I'm reading for just pleasure, or just, because someone's recommended a good author that I've heard about and I want to try it out, then usually that's very enjoyable.
Okay. You all met Ernie, and I always find Ernie pretty. There's lots of things I find funny about Ernie, but he's a believer now, so he's very, very good at, if not just reading through the Bible, reading companion items to help clarify or to comment. But one of the things we used to goof on about him, that idiot, is he actually likes reading textbooks. And he reads them like 3 times. And he highlights them as he reads through them so that he gets something different every time he reads through the textbook.
It's the purpose. He's gathering information.
He likes it.
Yes.
He,
If it's part of what you do and everything.
Steve is in insurance. And Steve just said, when I have to do a seminar, I do it, but I also do it like somebody is putting thorns underneath my fingernails. I would probably suggest strongly that medicine and keeping up on medicine or understanding surgical procedures, reading through that stuff is pretty doggone dry.
I would say probably depends though, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And that's what interests, like for me, like stuff, like I can be reading something on, I don't know, say a history, something that I'm researching something, and I'll come across something that makes me go, oh.
Yeah.
And then you can see how, wait, this event now this event connects to this, and you can see how that works to this.
Right.
In context with something. So that would get me excited.
Right. Because you can see the connectivity,
Right.
or the connective tissue once you read through it.
And it's learning something that I didn't know.
So you're saying the learning component of the reading is kind of what makes it enjoyable and then even fun.
Yes.
All right, other commentary there before I kind of help to put the curly shoe on the pig here. All right, so how about you guys weigh in on this? I had an encounter this week with a clergyman, and I said to the clergyman, church should be fun. The clergyman made a very strong point to stop me and said, no, church should be enjoyable. And I said, I think you're missing the bus here, brother. Was I wrong to potentially suggest that to this clergyman, that church should be fun as opposed to just enjoyable? Please weigh in.
Things are fun. You tend to do them more than just something that's enjoyable.
Huh.
And you tend to get more out of it when it's fun because you are an active participant, more so when it's fun. I'm going to use Diane's word because I like that. I like that word.
I think he's probably thinking of the danger where a lot of the fun churches are just a Coldplay concert and a TED Talk.
Yes.
But you got to do it the right way. I mean, you've got to have it the right way.
Okay.
You can't just have all the stuff, right?
Right.
But church can still be fun
Yes.
and still be a teaching church.
Yes.
And not be just all caught up in activities,
Yes.
so to speak.
Right. And I like where Trent is I think that this person thought of perhaps those broadcasted sessions or evangelist conventions where there's seemingly a lot of fun in the air, but maybe not a whole lot of substance. But I don't know that you. Oh, go ahead, sir.
The other question I'd ask is fun for whom?
Sure.
Like I said, it can be fun to dress up as a dinosaur and get beat up with pool noodles, but it may not be enjoyable and it may not be useful.
Okay. So let's define fun. Now, but first of all, you don't have to agree with me. So if what I said is heresy, is blasphemy, is anathema to you, lifetime saved people, go ahead and push back. I'm perfectly fine there. Maybe I got it wrong.
What he's saying and you about the danger of it.
By the way, he didn't say what Trent said. He just said church can't be fun.
So,
That's it.
to me, I saw your text about what we were doing today, and I saw the songs and stuff on it, which we don't usually know in advance. That's true. You know, I thought, ancient days, I love this.
Yeah.
And this morning, I decided to put it on my headphones and listen to it while I was getting ready. And actually pulled up the Ron Canoli video, the 7-minute. And watching that and loving that and getting closer and closer to the end where it was more and more participatory. People were up, clapping, singing, praising.
Yep.
That was fun. That must have been enjoyable for everyone involved, but that was fun. It was fun to watch. it would have been a blast to have been there
Okay.
to participate. To
Yeah.
me, that is fun encased with worship
Yeah.
and all. So to me, that was in church.
Yeah.
That would have been an example of fun. So I don't know. I would like to see that. It doesn't have to be a big event to have fun. It can be just worshiping with the people that you're there with. But it's sometimes fun is what you put into it.
Okay.
Is it fun or is it an air of expectation? You know, I don't know if you can always have fun in church, but you can, I think you can set the stage for an air of expectation that you're going to see God moving. And that creates its own sort of energy. And I don't know if I'd call it fun now.
Why not?
Because, you know, it just seems like too frivolous and word.
Exactly. So what's the other word?
Reverence the word.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I was brought up. There were times, but those set aside times when things were loosened up a little bit. But overall, church was supposed to be very, reverent. So how is sometimes a line of where does the fun come in and still keep the reverence? So it's just one of those issues. It's hard to always get your head around that you can still have both.
Okay.
Now, I think about the youth programs.
Can you guys hear? Okay.
I think about, the youth programs that I've seen over the years, the ones that flourished.
Mhm.
Yes, they had a lot of fun, but there were those out there, I know Matt's experienced this, where people step back and say, y'all can't be doing that here.
Yeah.
But yet the fact that you're bringing in, by having a fun event for all those kids and adults, you're likely to bring in people that you've never brought in before to give them one shot at seeing, okay, these people ain't so bad. There may be something for me here.
Okay.
But we've tried fun events.
Yeah.
You think about our basketball ministry.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to make it fun. We tried to interject a little bit of story. None of those kids ever came. So, you have to be careful about that word. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I think of, and it's not a church service, but we went to see Paul Wilbur at Mount Vernon.
Oh my goodness.
And it wasn't for the church service, but that was both enjoyable and fun.
yes.
And it was God honoring. And
My first experience with Paul Wilbur, there was a time where everything is going on and you see these people out, lines, banners, just dancing through the aisles. And I'm sitting there at one point, so much joy. I couldn't even sing along. I was just overwhelmed with the joy. And it was fun.
So before Trent weighs in, let me also say this because you know me well enough that I do this. So I was at one of those concerts with us watching this, and I actually went those moments. I stopped and I looked around. There were some people who were too mortified.
Yes.
Because they could not believe that what they were seeing was going on in a church. They could not they could not countenance that what was going on in a church service was going on. So those folks were experiencing the opposite of where you were enjoying it so much, you almost couldn't participate because you were overwhelmed with the experience, and they were actually frozen because this should not be happening. Folks, go ahead, weigh in.
Well, you kind of scratched my itch there. I have a clarifying question. Are you asking the clergyman to make the service fun, or are you asking him to stand back when it is fun?
Great question. Both and.
Well,
Because, go ahead.
well, and I wonder because there's a difference between making it fun, which sometimes works, a lot of times doesn't. I mean, there's kind of just the simple idea of women have fun face to face and men have fun shoulder to shoulder. And so you're automatically inviting a lot of issues to trying to make a universal fun thing. Some of us really, 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 really like reading and finding stuff and running the highlighter through and making all the connections. And some of us are like, I haven't read two letters side by side since 12th grade, and I don't want to do it anymore.
Right. So Trent, I think your question is a great one. And I appreciate the clarifying question because here's the precipice upon which I'm standing with this. I'm not talking about necessarily me making fun because that's relative. What I find fun, sometimes other people don't find fun. See what Jerry said earlier about burglary and the other crimes that he would be participating in for fun. But here's what I was actually talking about to the clergyman. You need to give your congregation permission to have fun. You need to give your congregation permission to have fun. Because sometimes it's not about you making things fun, it's about you giving people permission. Remember we talked about Mary being reverent and standing up when she should and walking down the aisle because what was happening during the worship time was so personal for her, she had to show.
There was
And young lady, yes.
quickly became that every time I saw her, I said, Mary, it's just like Mary.
Because Marys are inspirational. Those folks that sometimes do what's out of the box, those are the folks who sometimes go, I don't need permission from the organization. And I don't need permission from a man. Got permission in this environment. And so that's kind of where the conversation was going to shape. But the clergyman decided to kind of back off of that because I had so offended him by saying fun versus versus enjoyable.
Because we think fun, or he's thinking fun is frivolous.
Diane said it. Diane said it. And I appreciate Diane saying it because that is our sensibility. Our sensibility is that fun does not belong with worship. They don't go side by side. Thank you, Steve. But when I read the scripture, I don't see that. I see actually, here's the question I also thought Trent was going to ask. Who should be having fun? Let me throw this out and then scatter as the grenade rolls. I think the participants should be having fun, and I think the Lord should be having fun.
You know what I think your pastor heard? More work. He's already, I mean, you think about these.
I didn't say he's a pastor.
Or whatever, whoever this was you were talking. But you know, you think about this person who stands in front of us every week on a Sunday. They're already trying to open themselves up to the Holy Spirit, and now you want them to also interject fun. So I think I still go back to we have to be anticipating that we're going to have some type of experience. Mm-hmm. That brings the fun. If you come in and you're just expecting nothing, but I'm going to sit here and do my time, then, you know, you're not bringing any fun to this game.
I'd like to respond to that.
Pardon?
Can I respond to that?
As a clergyman, you're certainly welcome.
Yeah, I agree with what Diane said, but I'll say this. If I'm doing it right, which by the way, I enjoy preparing to bring the message, and sometimes it's actually a lot of fun.
Yep.
Because as Trent was kind of alluding to this, as you start to connect the dots, or the Lord connects the dots, and you go, oh yeah, it's kind of like the kid in Christmas Story. That's good. That's good. You know, you start to see it kind of come together and coalesce, and you go, oh yeah, they're going to dig this, right? And so, you know, you get to a point about Thursday where you're thinking, okay, Sunday's coming, Sunday's coming, Sunday's coming.
Yep.
For me, what I want to be able to do when I come and hang out with the group I'm preaching to, I hate that phrase, but anyway, bringing the message, I want to give it away. I want to give away what I had on Thursday. I want to give that away because I'm almost giddy about what I've got. And if I do a good job for the people who are receptive, and this is where Diane's statement comes in, who are coming expecting to get something, expecting to experience something with the Lord. if I can give that away, I feel like I've done my job. And so to that point, yeah, I think I have to set the table. I have to set the table for people to have fun with the Lord. If I go in with the idea of, you know what, regardless of what I bring, it's from the Lord and they will obey, then, you know, just send me home. Just send me home. So I think that's, you know, when you're talking about Paul Wilbur, whether you're talking about a musician, whether you're talking about a speaker or a pastor, if they do it right, they're taking the joy of the Lord and they're able to impart it to the people that are there, to share that with them.
But that's sometimes where there's a lack, that the people that are up there are just kind of droning. Well, sometimes they're just droning on.
Sure.
So if they're not enjoying it, how do they expect somebody else to enjoy it? So I like what Bruce does, because, you know, he wants to have that same exuberance that he felt on Thursday to give to the folks on Sunday, so they're the same thing. But sometimes, you know, when you go listen to somebody, it's almost like they're just repeating something they did 5 years ago,
You know,
as opposed to enjoying what they're doing.
to me, with worship, there has to be that, Bruce said, that element of joy of the Lord there. If you're not getting joy out of it, why are you doing it? If it's painful, if it's injury, why? And
We go to weddings.
yeah,
We go to the gym.
well,
We go to work
yeah.
because we have to do it, right? So you just asked the question, why do we do it if we're not getting joy? Because we do.
I'm getting joy out of a portion of my work. I get a paycheck out of it. I don't go to the gym. But to me, that joy of the Lord, that not having that element of joy and worship, at some point, it's okay if it crosses that line from joy to fun. You get so much joy that Mary happens, that things happen. It's okay. And that's where that permission has to happen.
It just makes me wonder. I think maybe as Diane mentioned earlier, what's this clergyman's idea of what you mean by fun? Is he got some images in mind like Hillsong? I mean, for me, and it's sort of playing off a little bit about what Bruce said. One on church looks like a discussion like this or something.
Yeah.
That's fun. What sticks with me, remember the discussion we had about Jesus on the cross and the sponge and the stick?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun, and that's stuck with me. That's something that when we left church, we're like, it's cool. We went and had Easter with family or something, and we're like, hey, guess what we talked about in church today? Why? Because it was fun. And when you have those types of things, the anticipation that you talk about is there because you're anticipating, I'm going and I'm going to have fun.
Yes. Yes.
So to me, it's not so much a matter of being irreverent. It's a matter of I've gone through the drudgery of my week, the mundaneness of day-to-day stuff. And now here I've come to Sunday, and now I get to go and learn and worship, spend time with the Lord and have fun. And so when you have that, that's where you get the anticipation. If there is no joy, if there's no fun while you're in church, then it's just another thing that you do at the end of the week, or beginning of the week, really.
But we do things we really don't enjoy or have fun doing all the time. It's just another thing. I like that Bruce weighed in with this because I'm not a clergy, but I love what Bruce said because when I'm thinking about the lesson that's here, that in many ways has been prepared in advance, it changes from week to week depending on where we are. So the fact that Sarah's sitting right now is because during the past week, looking at where we are, having interactions, there are other components to what we're learning that say we need to go someplace else. And so when Steve says, or when Bruce says, the Lord's kind of given me something on Monday, Tuesday, and I've worked it, and on Thursday I'm charged. Can't wait for Sunday. That's kind of where I live there. I know where that is. So when we get together on Sundays, I'm loving this. And I love it whether I'm getting up at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning or at 6:30 in the morning, because I look forward to being able to do this, to say, I think there's something here that we all need to get about helping us to honor our discussion, a theme of our discussion, honor the Lord best and better. And I like what Diane, I like what Steve's saying about coming anticipating. Folks, and I can say this in a climate because I've experienced it, maybe you have too. See, this is what the churches that are more melanated are jam-packed with, sometimes without the substance. There's a sense of not only enjoyability, but fun, because folks are coming anticipating fun. Now, sometimes the substance isn't equal, right, to the fun quotient. And so that's sometimes a discussion that maybe we need to have to help folks understand how worship can be both enjoyable and fun and not routine and mechanized.
It's like our swag should say, I get to go to RVA Hope.
I get to worship the Lord Jesus. It's okay to put on your shirt wherever the logo is, but that's not the concept that we have. We're okay with kind of the I bought it sticker, but that I get to worship the creator of the universe is not something that we kind of get jazzed about to the point where we wear stuff and we're cool wearing them. So let me back off there and give you some time to give me some weigh in on it. Yes, sir.
Well, Jesus said, I came not to be served, but to serve. He didn't pick disciples because they would listen to him with a smile on their face or because they'd go do his activities. He picked people because they would go do the doing, right? He picked people because they would also be serving. They were willing to go do the serving. So a lot of our language about this, and it's cropped up here and there. What we've been saying today is, I want to go to church with this expectation, or I want to bring something and so that they'll receive it, or I want to get in here and then have it be exciting to me. It isn't necessarily about somebody giving you something exciting or enjoyable or fun. It's what you bring in. Like we said earlier, fun has a lot to do with what you bring to whatever activity. So if you're coming to church in order to be served some fun, you're unlikely to find it. Discovered for a couple thousand years. But if you come looking to serve the community because your pastor is serving the community with his gift, you're likely to find the engagement that fun implies, rather more than just, oh, this is enjoyable.
Bruce is working us through a study of the Book of Mark. If you want to join late night, it's 11 o'clock our time, but it's middle of the day in Swaziland, wherever Bruce is. And one of the discussions that we're having right now is, why did Jesus pick those guys? Part of the reason Jesus picked those guys is because some of those guys were not wallflowers. Some of those guys had a lot of horsepower that they were using in the wrong direction. And when the Holy Spirit visits with them at Pentecost, you can't hold those dudes back. But some of them were probably certainly enjoyable to be around, and some of them were downright fun, but not with the purposes of the Lord in mind. And when Pentecost happens, those dudes blew the doors off. And I would venture, I've said this a whole lot, and I get myself in trouble saying this. In fact, I said this to the clergy the other day. I said, Jesus was not just enjoyable, Jesus was fun. How do I know that? Kids wanted to hang out with Jesus. When you got Trent dressing up as a dinosaur, people are not going, he seems to be an enjoyable person dressing up as Barney, as a colorful dinosaur. I'm going, somebody give me a stick. That looks fun. That's what Jesus did. Jesus wasn't dressed up as a purple or whatever he might have been dressing up as. But when kids want to hang out with you, it's not because they've weighed things and they're going, I find that enjoyable. Kids going, I need to go jump in the ball pit. Why? Because it looks fun. Floor's yours.
I want to draw a distinction. I want to draw a parallel to what you guys were talking about when you were talking about different things that are fun. Because I'm like a lot of what you guys said, as far as the work part wasn't very fun, but it was the peripheral stuff. School kind of stunk except for band and lunch and the 5 minutes between classes, right? Yes. So I was relating to that. But I think that's where we are in corporate gatherings these days. It's all fun before church. It's fun after church. The music part is a lot of fun. And then as soon as the pastor says, please be seated, you just see the eyes roll back in the head. Right. And it's like, okay, now I just gotta persist to the end of this thing, and then we can go have lunch, and then it'll go back to being fun again. Right? And so, but think of it this way. The parts of school that we didn't like were absolutely amazing to true students, to people who really understood the purpose. This is what Trent was talking about, who really got it. That part was the fun part, and they hated lunchtime, and they hated the period between classes. They just want to get to the next class. And so I think a lot of it comes down to, and this is what I'm going to be preaching, I think, on today, is just the idea of, you know, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with this whole Christian thing? I mean, that's, to me, I mean, and you guys are kind of gaming this thing, right? You're sitting at 9:30 on a Sunday morning, dissecting the Word of God. You guys got it already. You've got it. So, as opposed to a lot of people that come in and you see them in the parking lots of churches at 10 minutes to 11, look like somebody has just told them they've got to go to the gulag. I don't know how you make it fun for them, because I honestly, I don't think their hearts are aligned with God. So good luck on that.
Bruce, that's because somebody parked in their spot.
Or the kids are having troubles.
You shouldn't talk about the pastor's wife that way, Diane.
Church, but kind of going back to Bruce, what you were saying is that we do church very differently than other places do, because we do tend to get more deeply in this, but also figure out how to make it relevant, right? So we get to come with that expectation, whereas some people have the expectation that you're going to talk and I'm just going to sit here and listen, or Bruce is going to talk, or Matt's going to talk, or Jean's going to talk, and I'm just going to sit here and listen, but then I don't got to do anything else. So it all comes with that, with the way they come at, approach the day, so to speak, and approach the relationship that they have, their own personal relationship with. Because that makes it fun too.
I agree. And I think the leaders sometimes have to set the expectation that fun is allowed. And then what you do is maybe this. If you see someone having a kind of fun that's irreverent or out of place, in a personal way, you help that person to understand why that may not be the very best way to demonstrate their sense of participation or fun, but not in a public kind of call-out fashion yet, right? Because, look, we may get folks who are just very raw, who come to the Lord, and when they're having a really good time in celebration, they start stripping. I've seen that happen, right?
At church.
Yeah. So sometimes. No, you weren't with to the extent. Yeah. They start taking their clothes off, and you may have to have an interaction with the person personally to say,
Don't do that.
This may not work, but listen, and don't do that as funny as we're talking about, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes the culture and where the person comes from, you got to take the time to help deconstruct why that doesn't work. And it's going to take longer than I just don't do that. Because it may be the norm where you come from, that's not what we have. But look, if we have folks who come to hang out and celebrate with us, and they're coming in and they're drug-laced, right? And they're high, or they're drunk, they may have a presentation that just says right now they're not in their right mind. And you need to take the opportunity not to publicly humiliate them, but say, we love having you come. This may not work. But you want to give people opportunities to have personal expression, because some of that personal expression may be good stuff that spills over for me. I'm not a hand raiser in church, but I am certainly a stand-up and I'll clap person, whether I'm clapping when there's a great sermon or a great something that you said, or the music is great, right? But if I'm hanging out next to a Diane who is an art hand raiser, or she's doing something else, sometimes what she does spills over to me because we hang out together and I'm jazzed on watching how she has fun, how she celebrates. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just now I'm exposed to something different that I can add to my own personal comfort that adds a richness to the fact that I don't just have to stand here and act like Rock of Ages. And I like what Sarah has to say. Sometimes we're conditioned that church services are a guy speaks and you will listen. And there's no part that you have in this worship that's supposed to be communal. I'll tell you, this is not how the Jews did not worship the way our churches operate. The Jews did not celebrate the way that our church has, even Hillsong. The Jews could party because the Lord was their banner. It was an entirely different kind of celebration when the Jews got it right. So let me back off there and give you some silence interjections.
Just an observation. Out here, people don't like to even say amen. You guys that are from the South, the East Coast, you guys are used to that. You're used to people speaking out. Had a lady in the first church I was at here from New Jersey, and she was kind of a handful, to be honest with you. But I'd be preaching, and I could count on her, amen, right? I mean, I could hear it, and it jazzed me, right, to hear that. And then I actually had a member of the church come up to me afterwards, one service, and she says, I'm really sorry for how noisy she is during this sermon. I hope it didn't disturb you. And I said to her, I said, I'd like to see you go ahead and join her. That'd be even better. And that really short-circuited them, But, culturally, that wasn't working for them. It's like, guys, the Chosen Frozen Act is just really kind of run its course for me. And so, to your point, it's like, feed off of that, because she's got something going on, and I prefer you do that. So, yep, to your point.
It's something sometimes that doesn't get out, but I would challenge you if you're so able to YouTube as effectively as Steve does, go watch African congregations who know Jesus. And I'm not talking about African Americans, African congregations worshiping Jesus. It's going to violate some of your sensibilities if you're very reverent, stern people, because the folks who are Africans typically, because they come from a more vibrant culture and they celebrated things that weren't God honoring, when they learn that the God of the universe cares about them and delivered them from the sin issue that they understand best, they're not silent worshipers at all.
You even look at the Catholic Church in Africa. It's vastly different from the rest of the world, the Catholic Church.
Correct. And we had the opportunity with an African minister. He's the person who was Ellen's dad's minister, who was, and so when we were concerned that as he was leaving here, that he did not have a relationship with Jesus, we learned because of who his, and I was surprised because of the background of my father-in-law that he had and would allow a priest of color to minister to him. But that's indeed who was ministering to him. And he was able to not only confirm that that's what he had done with the relationship with Ellen's dad, but he confirmed for us he knows Jesus. Those are the guys who regularly go against the edicts in the Catholic Church. Yes. Mm-hmm. Is those African Catholic priests who go, no, that's not what this says.
Yeah. You can't have a relationship with Jesus.
And so their worship is much more vibrant, and I would say fun. You watch the stuff, and it's contagious. Unlike a lot of our worship that's happening today, which for the most part, check it off and go, I'd rather just sit in the spot with a book. Because that's much more enjoyable than having to attend some worship that requires nothing of me, but that says that I'm required to do a whole lot of stuff. Let me pause there. Feedback? Thoughts? I think it's incumbent on us to be able to have the discussions to say that worship can be both enjoyable and fun. And here's the thing. as opposed to us blanketly saying that fun has no purpose because it's irreverent, because it's frivolous sounding, let's have the discussion to figure out when it becomes frivolous, if it becomes frivolous. But let's have the discussion, because right now we don't have a world that's knocking on our door asking to have what we have, because we don't look like we have a whole lot of fun. And people already have a whole bunch of rules. This government and the government they're looking at, the edicts they're looking to usher in are going to create more stringent rules for people than they're recognizing. We're supposed to have a freedom. And so let's celebrate and demonstrate what that freedom looks like. But unfortunately, it probably needs to happen from the leadership down. And leadership needs to start by giving people permission to have fun when we worship. You guys on board with me there? Okay.
I need to add a couple of things.
It's a big can of worms, so I don't want to do that. But I'll push back slightly on the we have to have freedom point. I think most of Christian history indicates that freedom has a very small role to play in your ability to appreciate your worship of Jesus Christ. And in fact, we've mentioned with people in other parts of the world that have much more vibrant worship habits and experiences generally come from places that don't have the freedom that we have. I'd say our demand of freedom is partly what leads to a lot of the kind of bland sit around, be served attitude. You know, we're accustomed to having so much freedom that everything is entertainment.
Yep.
That bleeds over into our perception of church, because church needs to look like a movie theater or a sporting event or a continuing education work seminar. You know, where if you feel like not to say, oh, I'm being transgressive and I'm, you know, rebelling against the government, but the idea of, you know what, the government says what they're going to say. This is more important to me. That type of perspective is, I'm not saying it's the recipe and that's the way to do it, but evidence shows that it's more likely to work and be helpful. Yeah. And I think some of the political demands, the American isms of political theory, which I agree with you. I desire that also. I think we've got a good thing going. But when it's a demand and an expectation, I don't see that as much different than a demand and an expectation of some pastor man to come preach at me and fill me up.
Yeah, I don't think that that's pushback, Trent. I think that that's a sidecar to what we're discussing. So thank you for throwing that in. Brother, dedicated oxygen user.
I had a couple of thoughts through this process. Number one, at the very beginning, I made an observation when Sarah was talking about the gym. And I was wondering if the fun changed if she went to a gym where she was not known or part of a class. I think sometimes the fun gets injected by the group you're with. I enjoy this group. There's a lot of fun here. Secondly, when it comes to fun being permitted from the top down, our cemeteries don't teach that very well. They're because it doesn't sound academic. It doesn't sound theological. It doesn't sound like something that's important. And I agree, it is important, but it's just not something that's taught. It may need to be caught. And lastly, you've actually had a third layer here that I don't want to miss. You've talked about enjoyment, you've talked about fun, but you've interjected in here joy, which is much deeper than the other two. And I think that should be pointed out.
Well, I appreciate you working through all the tubing on that end to share. And to put a thumb right on top of the point that Gene made, I enjoyable's already part of the work. So joy is kind of the epitome of the best of this stuff, because fun is kind of conditional, and being entertained is conditional, right? But joy is not about how you feel, or it's a state that exists in many ways because of the discussion and the theme of what we're speaking. So ultimately, that's where we want to reach. We want to get to a state of constant joy, because happiness and our being entertained is not what's important. We have a joy because of the confidence in the faith of what Jesus has done and that he is. And so the joy should always be kind of the factor that is. Sometimes we need to get revved up to remember that we're supposed to be joyful. Okay? And there's a lot of churches that teach you that kind of you have to have the Holy Spirit come and do that periodically. This is kind of when Bruce has talked about why people don't talk about the third person of the Godhead, the Holy Spirit, because it's kind of wonky how churches talk about it. That people, you have the Holy Spirit, but then you have to kind of get filled with the Holy Spirit, which is a whole separate thing. That's not what the Bible teaches at all. But what the Bible suggests is that we have to give the Holy Spirit permission to manage us. We have to, because it doesn't say the words Yahweh is a gentleman. It doesn't say Jesus is a gentleman. But he doesn't force himself on us, right? So we have to give him permission. You have your way. Have your own way, Lord. Have your own way. You're the potter. I'm not. And so we should be able to arrive at joy and have a constant sense there. But obviously, the ills of the day, the worries of the day, those things that Jesus talks about in the Sermon on the Mount, they weigh us down. And so sometimes we forget we're supposed to have joy. So sometimes the road to joy is giving permission to have fun, en route to remembering that you're supposed to be joyful, and giving people opportunities to be in things that lead to them enjoying it and having fun and saying, oh, I can live here all the time. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge to be able to speak with our more conventional folks who gather today to say, maybe we're not doing this the right and the best way. Maybe there's another way to do this. But folks have been doing what they do for so long that they can't see another blueprint, and they get offended. And I'm okay with kind of doing some offending when I think I can find it in our instruction manual. Yes, sir.
So it might be offensive to say it, but this is a thing that it's pretty alternative, especially to the kind of Protestant evangelical tradition. And it needs to be artfully done because it can get real morbid and morose quickly. But the Jesuits have a practice of embracing the tragic in life. And like I said, you got to be artful about it because you don't want to just go be melancholy and down on yourself and become a flagellant. But when it's done well, when it's done right, it really, it encapsulates all of the range of emotion and experience and points it in the right direction instead of just saying you need to be happy and that's all there is. And if you're not happy, then you're missing a whole bunch. But there's a lot to be upset about in the world. And there's a lot to be sad about, and there's a lot to be disgusted by. And how do we pull all of that together in order to, use the salt to make the sweet sugar taste sweeter?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the artful exercise that I have not seen out of hardly any Protestant church I've ever been to.
Yeah, you're so right about that, Trent. And this has been a theme of yours, probably that we've heard in different presentations I've heard from you over the past 4 or 5 weeks. And I love it, because what that says is this: we are so blessed, especially as Americans and as Westerners. We think that when the Lord comes and gives us something extra, that's when he's here, as opposed to the alternative of what our life. When you talk about the fact that I can be effectively helping the military to perfect their military maneuvers through video gaming, and the alternative could be that You load 16 times. What do you get? Because I'm working in the mines. Sometimes I'm not thankful for the fact that these are not the alternatives because the Lord's already blessed and blessing me mightily. So I know my wife and I spend time being thankful that the Lord has put us in the position that we're in because this doesn't have to be our lives. So I don't need to wait for him to do something extra or something, extra chocolatey sweet as a miracle, because our lives are not necessarily miracles, but he's already blessing us in the way that is, we can feel it every day. And sometimes you need to take a look at the possibilities, if not where you've come from, to be able to recognize the greatness of the Lord in your life right now. So I always appreciate you reminding us about that. All right. Well, you guys, I thought we were going to spend maybe 45 minutes on this, but that's not how you guys roll. So I thought that where we would get would be to the question that we left off last week, talking about how do we receive grace. So we may get there, but I have to pose this to you, and I have to give it to you with the right introduction, because this is where we're going to pick up after we take our break, after we've got our music and our apologetics and our praying time. We're going to come back in and we're going to do an extended worship service. And here's where we're going to be. So I have to give you the right introduction to this. Let me tell you, the clergymen, well, we've got Gene on with us too. The clergyman on our line right now has just been a terrific inspiration for me. Because here's what will happen. He's going to go and he's going to preach to his gang and work with them on Sunday, and then sometime Monday, Tuesday, he's going to call me up, and he's going to say, "Oh, Mr. Cop," and he's going to have an exchange with me. On this end, I'm going, and it's going to feel like we're generating such wonderful spiritual buzz. We need to go and explode it. And that's been one this week. So what we're going to talk about when we resume is a concept that was coined by Brother Bruce, but it's one that I've been thinking about a whole lot this week, and we need to talk about it. And here's what it is. And it deals with kind of what it is that Trent's talking about. We got to talk through this a little bit. Common grace contrasted with amazing grace. Common grace contrasted with amazing grace. That's where we're going to resume when we start talking again. Okay? Common grace versus amazing grace. So I know we're going to probably lose you, Brother Bruce. Anything that you want to say there to help kind of get us get our wheels turning?
Well, that's as I told you earlier this week, that's the part and parcel of my sermon for this Sunday. And just to kind of cheat a little bit, what the Lord led me to was the kind of overriding picture that I have in my sermon for today is comparing grace to the octane that you have in your car's gas tank. And so my sermon title today is High Octane Grace. And just talking about the fact that there's a little too much spiritual knocking going on in people's lives. So that's where I'm going to be.
Okay. So you guys, as opposed to having a sermon, you're going to get to unpack what the contrast, if there's a contrast between common grace and amazing grace. All right. Anything else before we close? Thank you all this morning, because kind of like Bruce was saying, and in a way that I think that inspires Brother Trent to join us, I'm always jazzed to meet with us. And it may seem unconventional from what churches do, but I would hope that we can inspire that something like this is what churches should be about. And it doesn't need to be just on Sunday. It needs to be as they gather, so that they're getting excited about the content of this book, about what it is that Jesus did, and we should be exploding with the desire to tell people in a way that gets them feeling that they can be caught up in a wave that is fun and that brings joy, and that answers the needs of this life and prepares them for the next.